It's time for another Out of Bounds Rewind with Bo Bounds on ESPN 105.9, The Zone.
What do you think could be next for Will Rogers with the way he played last year and really at times played really well, Tom?
Well, statistically, it's going to be no different than it's ever been for any quarterback that's played for Mike Leach. I mean, we can go all the way back to, Tim Couch at Kentucky, and then we can go to Josh Heupel and some of those guys at Oklahoma, and then, of course, all of the Texas Tech guys, and they just plug in, right? One guy comes in, throws for 4,700 yards, he completes 70% of his passes and 40 touchdowns. He plays for 2 years. The next guy comes in, does exactly the same. I think what's interesting about this team, because this team is going to have very little excuses. They went 7-6. They got 17 starters back. Right? I mean, this is and a lot of their starters are in all the right places. In their offensive line, they've got to replace both tackles, but the defensive front and front seven itself is completely intact. I agree on the wideout front. They've got a bunch of guys that play a lot of football, a lot of seniors too. Seniors. How many people are playing with 3 seniors at wide receiver in college football right now?
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't happen. So, and I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but if you're going to make the next step and you're going to be expected to beat somebody that maybe is better than you are, how do they get him some help on the ground? I mean, I think it can be as simple as that. How do we somehow force teams to not rush 3 and drop 8 all the time because they're not scared of us running the football? And that, you know what? I remember his second to last year at Washington State, and they had a running back, and the name's going to slip my mind. I think his last name was Williams. He was their leading receiver on the team, and he was their running back. And what they did is they just utilized him as an outlet guy. So if they weren't going to run it, and they were going to throw it all over the lot, and people didn't want to rush them, and they're rushing 3 and dropping 8, they take all their guys, run downfield, and then throw the flare route or the check down to this guy, and the next thing you know, he's in space, and you got to tackle him in space, and he gains 7 yards here, 8 yards there, 6 yards there, 10 yards there. That might be the secret ingredient that could be utilized.
Okay. Yeah, and they pulled Georgia from the East, which is for the second time in 3 years. So Leach is not what we call living right in the SEC. Kiffin is yet to pull Georgia and pulls Kentucky again. So for the second time in 3 years, Kiffin pulls the Vanderbilt-Kentucky combo. And I know Kentucky's better, but they ain't Georgia. And for the second time in 3 years, Leach pulls Georgia. And so that's going to be difficult. They start off with Memphis, Tom, and Memphis, it was a wild game last year. Memphis beat them. It was crushing for the team. And then they go to Tucson, Arizona with a new coach and staff. But bottom line is they have to start 2-0 because their schedule is so difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest with you, going into that Texas A&M game, they've got to be 3-1 or 4-0. Because if you look at the stretch starting on October 1st, it's A&M, Arkansas, at Kentucky, at Alabama before they get a bye and host Auburn and Georgia. So if they're not 3-1, 4-0, in fact, they need to be 4-0. They've got to get 4 there. They're going to get the breather of these Tennessee State on November 19th. But you're right, the early going, and the thing is, they should be. With their returning experience and the type of team that they're going to have, quite honestly, they're further ahead right now. They might not have as good a pure athlete as LSU does, but they might be a better team than LSU is, but they got to play them on the road, and that's always difficult, as we know.
All right, so that LSU game, because it's early, we all have confidence in Brian Kelly, but that'll only be the third week there, and they may still be trying to figure some things out. You at least you're giving Mississippi State a shot to possibly go down, get in that game, hang around for a while, and maybe even win it.
Absolutely. There's no question. Because, LSU is going to still be, making adjustments. They're going to be, doing what they do as far as getting to know their team and figuring out, who's their quarterback going to be. Are they going to be playing more than one quarterback? Now, defensively, LSU is going to be loaded. Their front seven, everybody's back just about at the 2 deep level. So they're going to be pretty darn good on defense, and it'll be interesting to see if Mississippi State's able to go up and down the field on them.
And we still don't know what's going to happen there at quarterback. We've talked to you about it, whether it be Miles Brennan or Nussmeier or whatever. But
don't miss one moment of the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Weekdays, 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. on ESPN 105.9. The Zone.